Just a moment, and also Tom Shepstone, Emily Wood of Wood Design, Wood Landscaping Design, and Nate with them are co-presenters because they worked on this together this year. Thank you very much for being here. This is a chance for them to show you what they've been working on and get some public feedback. And that's really important to us. So Craig, I will just kick it over to you so we can get started and move on. Sure. Thank you. My name is Jocelyn. I'm one of your Wayne County Commissioners.
Thank you, Justin. I want to thank the people who supervisors who came tonight. I know it's a beautiful night. We're post holiday, but we are in the process of updating the county comp plan. The history of comp plan. We did one in '94. We did one in the '70s, Tom, right? Also, yeah, that's right. So the history of comp plan we did '94, and under Pennsylvania state law, Article 3. For counties, it's a shall, it's not a may. Local municipalities, it's a may. They may produce a comprehensive plan. For counties, it's a shall every 10 years. So that's why we're in the process of updating the 2010. We started this one in 2008. It's about a 2-year process. So this latest plan we started last year, and the consultants have done the background studies. So we are here. This is our first meeting. We're doing 2 more meetings next week up north to Preston, and then we're heading down south to Hamlin, Lake Ariel area. So I want to thank you for coming, and we'll start with a pledge of allegiance. Yep. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the Republic of the nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. Is this going to be, you have this online or anything?
Not
Why Mickey's here, she's going to be taping this presentation, and after we get done with next week's meetings, we're going to put it on the county website, just like the tax reassessment that educate people on why.
we can send this to Chair.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Wood, president. Do we need it? Oh,
I think so. So.
good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Wood, president of Woodland Design Associates. We're a land planning and landscape architecture firm here in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. And just to recap my team, we have Nate Ruckinger, who's a staff landscape architect with us. And then we're partnered with Tom Shepstone, Shepstone Management, to complete the update of the county's comprehensive plan. Like Craig mentioned, it's a beautiful night, so I promise you this presentation is relatively short and we can get back out there and enjoy it. But just a few things we want to present to you tonight and get some feedback on. So like Craig said, the municipal planning code requires an update. The last one was done in 2010, and we kicked this one off in 2022 and hope to finish it later this year. It's an update, it's not a new plan. So definitely spend some time revisiting what was done in 2010. As Mickey mentioned in a lot of the emails she put out, it really kicked off, launched Wayne Tomorrow. So we spent a lot of time with those groups, seeing where they are right now, where they want to move forward, and making sure that the plan is consistent with what they've been working on, or having the healthy discussion on what needs to change for the future so that they can keep representing the county's plan as appropriately as possible. And last, a big factor is we want to make sure it's consistent with the local planning. Which is why it's great to see so many township representatives here tonight. In gathering vital information to start putting the works on updating this plan, we did a survey of residents. We pulled latest demographics through a handful of different resources, to census, Esri data. We built on the existing land use study that was put together by the planning group here recently. And as far as results, we want to make sure we put together practical recommendations. We don't want anyone to feel pressure or any unachievable goals. We want to have a plan that's practical, that the county and the municipalities can look at to move forward towards. And we want to make it a model for municipalities, so it can help guide them in some of their changes or some of their decision making in the future. And we want to make sure it's a guide for the county and crafting policies on county infrastructure and other key issues. With that, I'll hand it over to Tom.
I'll do the boring stuff on the demographics here. This chart, we have a number of charts in here that kind of show what's happening into the county, and a lot of it's quite interesting. First of all, households by municipality. This shows the 28 municipalities. The green is 2010 and the red is 2020. So in that decade, you see very, very little change, and indeed in the fastest growing municipality or largest municipalities, you actually see some decline. I know Jocelyn was probably will say, and I know the other commissioners would say that our census wasn't very good. And so therefore, there may be some people that are not counted. Okay, so let's be fair and say that. But notwithstanding that, there clearly is not a lot of growth in Wayne County. We're more or less stable. Whether it's a little loss or a little gain, it's basically in that stable area. So the next chart is the one that I want you to think about the most. Craig and I talked about this early on, and probably the planning commissioners who were here are tired of hearing me talk about this because we've talked about it 3 or 4 times, but it's extremely important. This is an update of a chart that we did back in the last comprehensive plan. And at that time, we only had like the first half of this. And at that time, everybody all over, Wayne, Pike, and Monroe County was talking about our schools bursting the seams, and worried about, children coming into the county and all that. And we looked at the data and we could see, and not that we're the only ones that could see, but a lot of people didn't see the fact that the blue line shows you the growth in seniors, people my age or older. Okay, the red line is school age children, 5 to 17 years old, and look what's happened since about 2000. 2000, again, people were worried about schools growth and explosion of population and all that kind of stuff, but it really wasn't exploding. It was just about even at that point. And since then, we've just gained and gained and gained in people my age, and we've lost and lost and lost in people who were school age. And this is not a problem confined to Wayne County. It's not a problem confined to Pennsylvania. It's not even a problem confined to the United States. It's a problem we're having worldwide. Forget population explosion. There is no population explosion. We're seeing a dramatic decline in fertility, and we're seeing people who are just not having enough children. Even in China, which we thought of 20 years ago as being this booming, uncontrollable population growth, is facing a demographic implosion. There's many reasons for that, but even there. So the only place that you're seeing real growth is certain localities. A few urban areas have had some growth because of migration, and also there are certain cultural groups that are given to having large families. I was over in here from Monticello, New York. I do a lot of work with the city Orthodox communities. They all have separate children, every one of them. Okay, so they are growing, but here's where we're at in terms of the overall situation. And of course, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all, because what it means is there are not enough of you younger people to take care of people my age. Okay? That's what it means. So let's turn to the yeah, sure, go back.
How is that reflected at all in regards to the fact that our populations remain the same almost?
Well, what it's shifting, it's just the shifting makeup.
Right.
So our population, I predict, will probably go down unless we get more migration from New York City, which we are getting some, because the cities are having problems, New York City in particular. But it's really what we're doing is replacing young people with older people. That's what's happening. And we're getting the growth from
jobs available. Is that one reason why maybe they're not available, so they're leave?
what's that, jobs?
They can't afford
Like
that.
I said, the market for them to come back here.
It's just, it's not any of those problems. It's simply the fact that we're not having enough children. And if you all think about it in terms of your own lives, I know in my case, we had 4 children. And among them were 6 grandchildren, so. You know, if we had a normal rate, we would have 8. Okay, we have 6, and we're probably the exception to that. A lot of people who do not have, you know, any children.
But we don't have the jobs for those young people.
Well, but
We don't
that's
have
not
enough of
really-
them.
That's not really the issue. Or you would have it in places where there are, right now, we have lots of jobs. You know, people-
Not to pay to raise a family here.
We have, you're right to the extent that a lot of them are not great jobs,
Right.
but there are a lot of jobs out there.
There are, yeah,
People are-
absolutely. Our unemployment is low,
Yeah.
but we don't have enough of the family sustaining jobs that will lure those young families here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, you know, and a lot of this is the fact that we never had enough people to replace the baby boomers to start with.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
You know,
true.
so,
But it's also a factor, you know,
oh, yeah.
the culture has changed. And
Absolutely.
we do not, you know,
I see.
We will see.
Environment change, people move.
Yeah. That's another part of it. Now, you know, we will have continued migration to this area because we're on the edge of the urban area. But the urban areas are, you know, they go up and down, you know, New York City was a place everybody wanted to get rid of 40 or get out of 40, 50 years ago. Then it boomed a while. And now it's back to everybody wants to get out, you know, so it's it changes from time to time. But the point is, the era of rapid growth that we had here in Wayne County and from 1970 to 1980 and from 80 to 90 and 90 to 2000, that's over. That's over for now. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's do it. Thanks. So this shows you what the migration situation is. And what it does is it illustrates, the second column is people who come to, number of people who come to the county from those municipalities, from those locations, geographies. The third column is ones that leave to go to those localities. And the final column on the right is the net to Wayne County. So if we just look at the second column first, we see a lot of people coming from other parts of Pennsylvania. We also see significant numbers from New Jersey and from New York. Nothing surprising there. When we look at the migration from Wayne County, we see a lot of that is going back to New York or to Florida or to Pike County. And we have, I was talking to the security guard out there earlier. She actually lives in Pike County, not Blackson Township. So she's an example of somebody who's moved probably from an urban area to that area. And we're actually losing, you know, because there's a variety of reasons, but we're losing a little bit of population too, by people are moving there. If you look at the number over there, the net to Wayne County, that's the biggest loss, net loss is people moving from Wayne to Pike. Okay. So, and then you look at the rest of it, you'll see that we had a net gain from New York, which again is no surprise. So, and also from Lackawanna, which is also no surprise. Okay, so that's where the migration gains are occurring, and New Jersey too as a whole. So that's what's happening out there. Okay, next slide. This shows the total population for 2020 and the projected population estimate, I should say, for 2022 last year, and for 2027, 5 years hence. And as you can see, there's no growth expected there. Now, the Esri projections are based on more than the census data. They're an element in it, but they're not the total picture. So that's why I say, even though the census may be somewhat wrong, somewhat underestimated, this trend is still downward demographic. Now, it may change because of migration, but that's the trend. Same thing with households. You can see really no change. If you look at down at the bottom, those are the housing mixes. So if you look at on the left-hand chart on the bottom, you'll see it's Monroe, Pike, and Wayne. Okay, Monroe County. Notice Monroe County, which was, you know, you thought it was going to boom forever, right? In fact, the number of housing units slightly declined. Now, again, probably that decline, to the extent that it declined, is probably a census error, but it's not gained. The boom, the housing boom in Monroe County is stopped. It's over. And it doesn't mean they aren't building a few houses, but they're just replacing the other houses. And the best proof of that is that one of the biggest housing developers in Pike County, LTS Homes, is bankrupt, out of business. They build 600 homes a year, gone. So Pike County continues to show growth. I think one of the reasons why Pike County is very accessible to New Jersey. As is Monroe, but Pike has a little different character, has a more permanent open space. A lot of its developments were, again, the security guard, she lives in Mast Hope, okay, Mast Hope's a particularly nice development. And the one next to it, Fawn Lake, is a particularly nice development, so. So I think that kind of activity is drawing people to Pike. Wayne, very little change in housing units. Craig reports on subdivisions, and I think we have building permits in the report too.
Building permits in Wayne County average about 100 a year.
Yeah,
We're very low.
which is nothing. So, that's what you need to do, just to replace housing that's on the foot, right? So the Wayne County housing mix between permanent and second home or vacant, which is in our area pretty much the same thing. You can see that the second homes, they in 2000, they represented 12,243 units versus 18,350 permanent. By a decade later, it had gone down a bit. Permanent had gone up. A lot of second homes had shifted to permanent, but now it's gone slightly back the other way. So that's kind of the picture there. Next slide. And then we have the building permits issue. This is from the housing study. I had Mickey was involved. I think it's getting this done.
Well, no,
You're
Wayne tomorrow,
on the committee.
Wayne tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, right. So this shows what's happened. And it's consistent with what Greg said. Look at where we were in 2004. We had 491 permits issued. In 2021. We were 135.
Yeah.
35. So basically 25% of where it was. Okay, so that's the situation we have. That tells you a lot right there. And it was much lower in 2012. It was the lowest, only 84 permits that year. Really low.
And I think at this point, Tom, this is something we discussed, and Craig, you pointed out in a couple of meetings that despite the low building permits, last year or the year before, there were more subdivisions by November than there is in any given year in the whole county. So while houses aren't being built, subdivisions are occurring and maybe people are planning ahead.
Yeah. Good one.
For when the
Next chart. Okay,
Interest rates go down?
these are two more charts from that housing study. And it shows the blue at the top chart, blue is people living under the poverty line. The orange is people of housing for people who really can't afford theoretically can't afford the housing. They're within that area where it's very difficult to afford the housing. And the gray is people who are above that. That got worsened from 2010 to 2014, but since then it's gotten a little better, according to this study. But then 2018 was before the COVID, which kind of drove people up here and changed the prices. So where we're at now, I can't tell you, probably somewhere closer to where we were in 2016. I would say. Or 16. The bottom chart is median sale price by year. So this takes up to 2022. So this kind of makes the point I was just making with the above chart, which is that prices have gone up significantly. The typical median sale price in 2019 or 2018, where the top chart ends, was 145,000, and now it's 254,000 in 2021. So that's kind of changed a lot of things. So despite the fact that we don't have a lot of growth, the in-migration, the COVID thing, all that stuff has made a significant amount of the housing less affordable than it was 5 years ago. Thanks, Karen. Okay, this is median housing home value by census tracts, and you can see Wayne County at the center of the map there. And note it's a kind of a dark yellow, whereas if you go towards New York, the New York metro area, of course it's deep red. So it shows you that the median value in our area is still big bargain compared to the metro area. So that's why we'll probably continue to have some migration, even though I don't think we'll have a lot of dramatic growth. We're gonna probably keep even because we are housing, despite our high prices, despite the fact they've gone up significantly, it's still a bargain, okay? Still a bargain, even at high prices. What we consider high prices. Did you want to do this? Go ahead, all good. Nate has done a great job with Woodland design and helping us assemble some nice charts. Analyzing the traffic data. And what we see here is looking at Route 6 traffic over the last 20 years. When we do that, what we see again is more evidence that there's not a lot of growth. Okay. If you look at Waymar Borough, it went down by 1,000 between 2015 and 2021. Crompton Borough went down to 800. Crompton or Waymar Crompton to Honesdale did go up about 900. Honesdale to Route 652 went down majorly. I would say I think I see that because part of that is right outside our office, and I notice it's easier to cross the street now than it was a few years ago. Okay. So Route 652 to Route 590 went down significantly, and Route 590 to Hawley also went down significantly. So we have only one spot, Crompton to Honesdale on Route 6, that's really shown any growth according to PennDOT.
Is that cars per day, Tom?
Yes, thanks. That was a good question, guys. Thank you. It's average daily traffic, but it is cars per day, or more accurately, trips per day. Okay, so, all right, next chart. And this shows Route 191. So we're taking the key east-west and the key, now we're taking the key north-south route. And we see more of the same. Route 447 to Route 507 come south. Went down just a hair. I-84 to Route 507, down a hair. I-84 to Route 590, up just a hair. Route 590 to Lake Ariel, again down a little. Lake Ariel to Honesdale, down a little. Honesdale to Rileyville, down a little. Rileyville to Route 370, or 370. Basically the north, Wayne County. That was the only area that actually went up.
I think McBride's open then.
What's that?
McBride's open.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, that's the only area. So I think it's Steve Adams going back and forth on Homestead's way. Actually, we're coming from north, so you must be going north to get here. Yeah. Well, you would. You're from, you're from Bremen. Anyway, so same overall picture. Just not a lot of growth. I mean, not a lot of change. Next, and this is 590, which is another introductory course. And without dwelling on it too much, we see some growth. Route 348 to Hamlin and Hamlin to Hall, they both went up. But that in the middle case, it was after a major decline. Okay, so it's way down from what it originally was back in 2001, way down. But it did go up a little bit the year before. So and then if you look at Hamlin to Hawley, that area has shown some absolute growth. Okay, no surprise there. Anybody knows that have driven that road or done anything down that way understands that that's one heck of a busy area anymore. And you have a lot of traffic either going to Hawley or going to Hamlin. And that is having a dramatic effect on that highway. So the next slide, it's maybe you. Yeah,
Yep.
This is you. So now we'll switch places here.
So the one thing that we worked with the county on is looking at the updated land use and land cover across the county. And in this circumstance, Wayne County is obviously largely forested. There's certain areas that are seeing some growth, some development, most of us can point them out across the county. But the biggest thing that the county planning department, we've noticed is the agricultural fields that were once there are falling fallow and going to pasture. So more and more of what was once ag is falling to fallow, and falling into forested. So Wayne County is more forest than it's ever been at the moment. And if you go to the next slide there, Tom, we'll see central. I believe. Well,
Oh, did I go the wrong way?
no, it's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and then moving into this, the thing that we wanted to point out here is within Wayne County, whenever you're gonna develop something. We're surrounded by high quality streams and watersheds. These things have values with DEP, values with permitting. They all have these kind of implications whenever you're gonna do any kind of development. When you come to Wayne County, you're not coming here because it is developed. You're coming because you love the rural nature of it. In order to stay that way, in order to find a balance, we've got to preserve these kind of streams, the high quality streams, the streams that have natural trout reproduction. And as you move through those things, you find out ways to protect them, but while giving opportunity for development. And then this goes back to extreme classification as well, the hydric soils and the wetlands, which really don't change across the county. They protect the streams. But as you move into looking for circumstances where development can occur, or trying to build a house, or trying to put a septic in, you have to consider these type of things. And Tom and I may cut me off if I get out of place here, but the one thing that we've been working on with the county is looking at updating the county website where the GIS interpretive maps, so that some of this information can be brought into the website, so that if you're a developer or a private landowner, you can have access to some of this information, so that when you want to do something, you come into one of the townships and go, I have a map, here's some of the information on it, here's what I know about it. That way you guys then have more information than a blank slate.
Let me just add a little something. The last slide, we talked about, Nate talked about the watersheds too. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is, as he said, we all like the idea of having high quality and exceptional value watersheds. But there's a flip side to that, and that is that those classifications, particularly the exceptional value, adds a regulatory requirement that kind of rules out, doesn't completely rule out, but it makes it very difficult to do a sewage treatment plant, for example. So it definitely has an influence. And if the entire county, we're one of the very few counties, I think maybe a handful in Pennsylvania that are all high quality or exception. And and that has an impact in terms of what we can do. The same thing with the wetlands here. If you look at the map to the left, that's from the Sterling Industrial Park. And you can see the little wetland. Steve and I went to a meeting down with the DEP Secretary McConnell. And I believe Brian was with us too. I'm not sure. Was he? I think so. Can't remember. But anyway, we had a meeting, and Tom Riley, the engineer who worked on this, he talked about this and the fact that you end up with a little dinky wetland there over on the left-hand side that has a dramatic effect on the overall development, even though it's basically, it's not even as big as this room. Okay? So there's everything has a plus and a minus, so the key is to try to get to some balance anyway.
Digging for the whole thing with the septic system for the sewage treatment plant. I was told by pretty reliable sources, there were chances of seeing pigs fly and get the sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough.
And that it hinders development.
Yeah.
And I imagine that was a regulator.
No. There was so many great ones.
Semi-regulated.
Whatever. From the regulatory body, we got a kibosh.
Yeah,
Really,
right.
just kind of right out of the gate. No, forget about that, Wayne County. You can't.
Oh, it's back to me anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Reach into the choir.
Just a few more slides, and we'll go. I think we go back to Emily pretty soon, don't we? So this gives you the how people reacted to the survey. We did a resident survey. We had a large response to that, and several hundred responses. And you can see how people looked at environmental protection. Notice the green at the bottom. That's very important. And then blue is moderately, yellow is somewhat, and the light blue or grayish blue is not important. So you get the idea of what how people feel about it. And what this shows you is the dates that the surveys came in, which was last summer and fall. And pretty good balance of views there, but overall, a lot of support for environmental protection. Excellent. And this was the, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
That environment, that survey that you did, that was done by email, wasn't it?
Yes, it was all digital. No mail.
But we did have paper copies that were available, and about 12 or 15, I would say, were returned. I put them in myself.
Yeah. So we did.
We have them available at the libraries, the municipalities.
Yeah, we got a good response. Okay, next slide. And this is the, the flip side, economic development. You notice here, again, the green is a little bit less, the blue a little bigger. And people, the balance is kind of tilted a little bit towards environmental protection. But I think overall, we can say, Wayne County people tend to have a more or less balanced view of between economic development and environmental protection, and that's as it should be, in my opinion. We do want to accomplish both, and we try to, as Nate and Emily said, we try to make sure it comes out as a balance, that we don't tilt too far one way or the other. So, next slide, I think maybe you. Oh, all right, comments and questions. So you're back up. Okay.
And so in a moment here, we're going to go into the comments question section of the meeting, although I honestly do appreciate some of the questions that came out during it, since it's a little smaller group, which is great. I did want to mention there will be 2 more public meetings if someone who wasn't able to make it tonight, just because they kind of have been separated in the central, northern, southern. We're happy to have anyone attend any of the meetings. The next meeting is next Tuesday, the 6th, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Preston School, and then followed immediately on Thursday, June 8th, 5 to 7 at the Evergreen School off 191 towards Hamilton Four Corners. So I just wanted to mention that. I know maybe people blasting it all over social media and emails. We do appreciate that. Yeah, so I guess at this point, just any comments or questions, anything you've been seeing in your municipalities that you'd like to discuss, or at least bring to light so that we could spend some more time investigating it. We'd appreciate it. Okay.
I have a couple of comments, if I may. Just as Emily mentioned, and Tom, you and I have known each other for 10 years now or so.
If you could just move over here, because we're recording it, and that.
So when we did our last comprehensive plan in the county, we really don't just dust it off and put it on a shelf. I mean, that was the inception for Wayne Tomorrow, so that on a more targeted level, we can address some of the concerns in the county, which continue: decreased population. How do we attract younger folks, keep them here, and reverse this population curve? A couple of things to consider. Pennsylvania doesn't tax pension benefits, and that adds to that. At an economic study just a couple of weeks ago in Monroe County, where they study the 4 counties together, Wayne, Pike, Monroe, and Carbon, some of the data revealed that the population here has seen an uptick in IRS tax return. The IRS reports have shown that. And as Tom mentioned, the census happened, the census day was April 1st, 2020. And I think we all remember what was going on in March and April 2020. So a lot of the data that has happened since then, we haven't captured all that information. So with Wayne Tomorrow, we've looked at things, and things have shifted a lot. So this area used to be an area where you could really raise a family on an agricultural industry here, and we all know that's shifted. So what are the new opportunities here? The natural resources is something that is really drawing people. If a business wants to relocate, the number one thing that they used to want was wages. That's what they cared about. Quality of life is now one of their top concerns. So where they locate a business has to do with what kind of lifestyle will my employees have. So in Wayne County here, we have incredible natural resources. And those of you who haven't seen the business incubator, has everybody walked through the business incubator or heard about it? The old building right over here. So what we're trying to do is encourage more of an entrepreneurial culture here, because if you can have your own business, a small business, raise your family that way, we're trying to encourage that. A lot of that started from the comprehensive plan about 10 years ago, just as an FYI. So one of our #1 challenges, and when Wayne Tomorrow started, everybody agreed that one of our largest challenges here is broadband, and that continues. But for the first time, and you guys all know this, Phil, Rich, Steve, there's more money in the region right now than there ever has been. So things will continue to shift. There is a broadband plan in place, and within a couple of months, we'll know the specifics of what we're going to fund. But that will move things forward significantly so that that hurdle is eliminated from certain economic development. Just wanted to add those points in there. So if anybody has questions or comments about that too.
I have a comment. We